voice of the North.
Alan Robson's Night Owls, the phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Spread the word of the owl. Alan Robson with you on a Sunday night here on Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. We've got another competition for you where I'm going to give you 4 words from a song. You're going to tell me the name of the greatest hit that all of those words come from. Tonight's a bit of a devil. There's a bit of a devil for you, so get ready for it. But let's get talking to people. For example, we're going to Killingworth, where we find Petra. Hi, Petra.
Hi, are you all right?
I'm good, darling. What's your story for us tonight?
Well, you're not going to believe it, but I have finished my Christmas shopping. I've done it all.
What?
And I've got all my decorations ready to go up.
You are a mad person. I mean, first of all, absolute respect for you having all the presents. Why so early?
Well, I'm always quite an organised person, so I'm always quite organised, but maybe not as organised as I am this year. But
Well,
I think
hang on a second.
lockdown.
When you say organised, what you actually mean is an anagram of Alan, which is anal. I mean, this is just, it's being ready. Oh, I've got the pudding ready to go in. The turkey's in the freezer. Really? I mean, you've got everything.
Well, I always aim to have all my Christmas shopping done by the end of October, but this year it's been a month early. Just because of lockdown, I think, and boredom, online shopping and things like that. So I've done it all by the end of September. And it's all ready. I've got wrapping paper ready to wrap them. I've got absolutely everything done and all the Christmas decorations out and ready, planned. We're going to do a big decoration in the front garden and the side garden and do all of that and just make it really exciting for the kids, because I think the kids have missed out on so much this year. So I just want to make it as special as I can for not just my kids, but other kids around and things like that. So
that's a lovely way to look at it. However, you say you've got the decorations ready to go up. I mean, the trees, you've got the tree down ready to go.
Yeah, everything's ready.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
everything.
you say you're bored, and I kind of blame you, because everybody's itching in their seat just to get to do stuff. Any stuff will do. But but does this not mean that you're just now going to be even more bored between October up
Well,
through?
no, because I mean, I'm always busy anyway with like the charity stuff and things like that. So I'm always like flat out busy. I work 24 hours a day. I'm always on call and things like that. So I think in terms of that is why I'm so organised in terms of everything else. I have to make sure I'm organised, otherwise everything would just get left to last minute. But I think just because I want to be so organised this year to make it extra special for the kids, I think I've achieved what I wanted to do.
So
I've changed all the colour scheme and everything as well. So that's why I wanted to get everything sorted really soon.
Now, the thing is, any kid will tell you, you've obviously got children. How old are they?
So my eldest is 5, and then I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Right. Well, not so much for the 2 little ankle biters, but for the 5-year-old. When I was 5, I know they've got the presents. I know they're somewhere in the house. I shall seek and find these presents. And sometimes they were behind me mum's wardrobe. Sometimes they were in the bottom of the wardrobe underneath the quilt. All this kind of stuff. How sure are you that the 5-year-old won't snoop and spoil his Christmas?
They're well hidden, and I've hidden some at like my mum's and things like that, like bigger stuff that's really hard to hide in the house.
Right.
So yeah, they are well hidden. I'm pretty sure she won't find them. If she does, I'll be devastated, but I'm pretty sure she won't.
Right. Oh, well, good luck with that. I think it's wonderful, but does this also mean that next it'll be, well, you've obviously got all of the bonfire stuff. You've got some rockets and stuff tucked away. That's all sorted. You'll have the Halloween costumes ready for them to go, because that's coming up soon.
I have, because my eldest girl, she wanted to, because I'm terrified of, like the porcelain dolls. I'm absolutely terrified of them. They're one of my biggest fears. But that is what she wants to dress up as this year. So I've even gone to the extent of buying her that this year. But and she wants me to do all of the makeup and things like that. So I've got all their outfits ready. And we've decided that on our estate we're going to do where we're all going to display pumpkins in the windows.
Right.
And because of obviously COVID and things like that, with trick or treat and stuff like that, so we're going to go round and spot the pumpkins, and then we're going to put treats in their bag as we spot them.
Wow. Hey, absolute respect. As one of the people that'll go, tomorrow's Christmas. Hell, I better get some because I'm the complete opposite of that. I am kind of prepared. You know, you get the big things, but then you go, it's not enough. I'm going to have to... And then you kind of panic at the last moment. I'm one of them. But this year, it's not going to be, we don't think, the same, because with social distancing and all that kind of stuff, it's
not going to be like we're not going to have like the Christmas parties and things like that, are we? Which is like
I don't think so.
what's normally on the run up to Christmas and stuff. I mean, my husband is a complete opposite of me. He is the most unorganised person, and he will literally be in the Metro Centre on Christmas Eve buying my presents.
Yeah. But does he end up getting a good thing, though?
He does. He normally ends up getting really good presents.
What's a good present for a woman at Christmas, though? Tell me, because explain for all men what they should... He does a good job by getting... What?
So he does do a good job. So he'll normally get me a handbag or like a nice designer bag or something like that. Shoes, I absolutely love shoes, so he can't go wrong with shoes.
What?
Yeah, well, I'm shoe obsessed, totally obsessed with shoes.
But no man can buy shoes for a woman.
Yeah, he's quite good actually, because he knows what I like.
But men like tarty shoes that are so high, and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, I put a pair of stockings in there just in case they chafe." That's what a man does. He doesn't do handbags.
Yeah,
I got a bag for life from Lidl. Come on, that's what a man does.
Things like that. Like I love stuff like that. Perfume, handbag, shoes, pajamas. You've got to have a good pair of pajamas. A woman loves a good new pair of pajamas and dressing gown for Christmas. Love
and
that.
also it's good for a man to have pajamas, because then you don't have to look at it.
That's very true.
It's not pretty. It's not. If it arrives on the sly when you weren't expecting it, that's all right. But when you can see it coming, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing at all.
But yeah, he's quite good. He's quite good with his last-minute presents. Bless him.
That's good. Hey, well, I'm completely jealous, Petra. Thank you very much for coming on and telling me about it.
You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Take it easy. Thanks for coming on. There you go. She's already got her decorations ready to go up. Can you believe it? Now, a couple of things came in during all of that. Some messages that were kind of important. There was one saying that Dominic Raab, the test that they put in, was 93% incorrect. And that's the one they're basing all of the spikes and what have you on. Other stuff coming in. Oh, where was that other one from? Emma Louise. My friend and me had been out on the town. We were feeling a bit tipsy. Anyway, we thought it would be a good idea once we got home to stand at the window and flash our boobs to our husbands. Problem is, our husbands had invited the new neighbours in for a drink. Oh, dear. That is tricky. And Christopher McGill, I went on holiday with me mates. We got drunk. We decided to go skinny dipping, as men will do. We ran into the sea, looked behind me, and my mates had ran off with my clothes. I remember having to walk back to the hotel, getting to reception, and asking the receptionist to open my room. My mates were inside, laughing their heads off. There you go. So there it is, Julie Watson. Did anybody see Dominic Raab on Sky News saying that the tests are showing that 93% of them are showing a false positive? And that's the test that they're relying on. There's so many of those things. And I have to tell you that it's enough to worry you, because this is the kind of stuff that they're basing a lot of their stuff on. It's incorrect things. Well, they told us, and every time you say to a hospital, you tell me that you've got a lot more COVID people, we'll give you more money. They're going to find loads of extra people that have COVID. If they're going to get cash on the end of it, it's human nature. Anyway, let's crack on. Naked things we've talked about. Dawn from Washington is with us. I think talking naked. Is this right?
Yes, but first I have to tell you about my husband's treatment for his cancer.
Yes.
Because I rang you a few weeks ago.
You did? How's he doing?
Well, the consultant is very pleased with his reaction to the chemo.
Thank heavens.
Apparently, I've got no idea what this reading means, but apparently it was 192 when he went in. Mm-hmm. And with the chemo, it's come down to 9.
Oh, bells, that's amazing.
Yeah, the consultant thinks it's absolutely fantastic. So,
That's a miracle.
because of this COVID thing, I haven't been allowed to go into the hospital with him.
Blimey, he must be really isolated and hellish in there. On his
Well, the thing is, he had a cerebral aneurysm in 2002.
Right.
And he can't remember things. You know, he's told something and 10 minutes later he's forgotten it.
Right.
So the consultant has now said that I have to accompany him into the hospital, which is good because now I know what's going on.
Well, the problem is when you're outside and you're a woman, so you're naturally nebby anyway. For you to be out of it and then to expect the guy who's going through it to remember all the bits and pieces, because it's an awful, horrible procedure anyway. It's asking him a lot. So the fact that you're going to be in and amongst it is much, much better.
Well,
I don't understand.
The consultant said that I have to be there because he can't remember and I need to know. So
right.
That's fabulous.
Because if you think
a smashing woman.
If you think about this, though, the whole idea of the social distancing when your husband's in a life or death situation, I think a little bit of common sense should be taken in the first place. First of all, if you are going to see him, you wear a mask, you take the obvious precautions, and then what you.
Well, I mean, he's living with us at home.
I know, that's what I mean. So, but what the government said today, and this is annoying and irritating, the government have said that even now we can't rely on our social bubble. Now, you and he are in that bubble. Yes. And they're saying, oh, but in hospital you might you might give it to him and he might give it to you.
Oh.
And then they say, then you go home and he could give it to you and you could give it. It doesn't make any sense. It's just.
It doesn't. I know.
It's madness, man. It's
I
madness.
know.
Madness, love.
I've just had enough of it all.
I mean, the nation's getting to that point.
Nothing to do with it anymore.
I want nothing. That's you told COVID.
Yes.
We want nothing. Our door is closed to you. Absolutely. I wish it was as easy to say that in real life. But you see, the interesting thing is, and I've mentioned this because it's absolutely true, that in Europe, if you were living in France or Belgium or Holland...
Oh, yes, they're going about as normal.
And they wouldn't have that conversation with you. You'd be going to a hospital as
I have friends
normal.
in Denmark.
And, well, there you are. There's nothing like a Dane. Nothing in this world. No, but it just makes you wonder, what is it about the British person that the government feels we've got to walk them through this like they're babies? We've got to gain so much control. We've got to tell them who to talk to, who to have sex with, how far you can leave your home. This is.
I'm sorry, I just don't agree with any of it. I mean, really... I'm loath to say his name, Boris Johnson. I'm loath to say it. You know, don't get me started.
No, absolutely. Hey, well, the good news is at least you're going to be there with him, giving him some support, and I bet that makes a difference to him too.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm sorry, I'm going to have to talk about your naked newly bits.
Yes.
Tell me your naked story then, Dawn.
Well, as you know, I'm a type 1 diabetic, have been for 60 years.
I know this.
Yes. And I know you're a type 2, but I don't suppose you've ever suffered from a proper hypo attack.
Never, and I'm on the verge of not being because I've changed my lifestyle, so I'm trying like crazy.
Right, well, obviously type 1 you can't.
Right, no,
There's
for
nothing
sure.
you can do about it.
Right, so what happened?
Well, I had a hypo attack.
Right.
And we had one of my husband's friends staying with us. Mm-hmm. It was after work, and I decided, I feel a bit tired, I'm going to have a nap. No. So I went and lay down on the bed and had a nap.
Right.
I woke up, and I thought, I need something to eat.
Right.
I was actually having a hypo attack.
Right.
So I just got up out of bed and walked down the stairs into the sitting room, completely and absolutely naked. And my husband's friend was sitting there, Dave he's called, and Dave looked at us in astonishment and he went, Dawn! I says, what's the matter? You know, I was completely out of it.
Oblivious, so, you just woke up, right?
Yeah, well, no. I was having a hypo. When you're having a full-blown hypo, I mean,
right,
nobody
of
will
course.
tell you about this.
Now, you wouldn't know where the hell you were, right?
Exactly. You don't know where you are, what you're saying, what you're doing, or anything.
Uh-huh.
And as I say, my husband grabbed us, pushed us back upstairs, and said, "Dave's downstairs." I says, "There's nobody here. What are you talking about?"
Oh, wow.
He says, "Dave's here. Put some clothes on before you go."
Mind you, I bet, did Dave not give you a round of applause and come back with a box of chocolates?
No, he didn't. He was so embarrassed. Poor lad.
We say that's a decent fella there. You just, I shall shield my eyes. Instead of standing there with your tongue out. I know
He did.
Good on him.
Poor lad.
Good on him. Hey, Dawn, love to the husband. I wish him well. And thanks
Lovely.
for coming on, darling. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Oh, special people. And that whole thing about you can't go and see your husband. You can't go in with your husband even though you live with him. Social distance nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Vicky is in the rather wonderful town of Richmond in Yorkshire. Hello, Vicky.
Hi there.
Hello there. What are you talking about tonight, Vic?
COVID. I know it's doom and gloom.
Uh-huh.
But I want to highlight how, I don't know, the lies, the deceit, the being kept from family members. Speaking from a personal point of view, who had a dad who was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Oh, my goodness. Right.
Decided no treatment was to be given because he was going to go for quality of life.
Right.
Unfortunately, 2 months later, that quality of life was taken away from him because we then went into lockdown.
Right.
Which meant he was unable to see any member of his family. And the only point that he would get to see his family was when they were passing food parcels over a fence because they'd put the whole of the accommodation that he was in into lockdown.
That is the cruelest thing in the world. And you're not the only family that's been in that situation. How did he cope with it? How's he dealing with it?
Well, not very well because he passed away.
Oh, my goodness.
But what I want to highlight is, yes, while I understand COVID is a very real virus, I think where people have got terminal cancer, they should be allowed
Absolutely.
to see their parents, their sons, their daughters.
Oh, my goodness.
And as far as I'm concerned, the instant my dad said that he wasn't going to have any treatment, there wasn't a call for him from a Macmillan nurse. There wasn't a call from him from a specialist. There was no calls to check in to see how he was doing.
They just let him loose. Just let him loose.
The last information he received was to confirm that he decided to have no treatment. Spin on a few months later, I got a call off my sister saying, "Dad doesn't see myself when I've passed food parcels over or I've taken him a meal over."
Yeah.
My sister taken even more precautions because she was still at work.
Right.
At this point, I had been put on 12 weeks leave. Anyway, she phoned us and she says, "I think you need to come and see him. He's missing Mum. Mum and Dad weren't together."
Right.
But they had an absolutely fantastic love-hate relationship. They idolised each other. My dad idolised my mum. He was missing my mum because nobody was allowed to take him along.
No.
That night I decided to take the decision to go and I told my dad that I would be coming to pick him up, to take him to my mum's. I would take all the precautions, which I did,
Yeah.
far and above.
What would be normal?
That drive coming from Yorkshire to the northeast, I was pretty much the only car on the road.
Yeah.
When I hit my dad, he was waiting for us. I got him in the car, still taking all my precautions, gloves, mask, overall, you name it, I had on, took him to my mum's. Although he didn't have a great deal to say, you could see in his eyes he wasn't alone that day. But you could also see in his eyes that he knew that day that I took him to see my mum. it was going to be the last day that he would visit me mum.
Awful.
The following day, my sister phoned us, frantic. Dad's phoned us, he says he's really poorly. An ambulance was sent for, a decision was made whereby he would be taken to Cramlington Hospital for assessment. By assessment, they meant a COVID test done.
Oh, all right.
COVID test come back as negative. Another decision was made to take him to Rake Lane. The ward that he was put on in Rake Lane, he was put on a day with several other patients. Several calls per day from family members asking how he was, could a doctor call with?
Yeah.
We pretty much had to beg, and don't get me wrong, I think we've got a fabulous NHS.
Yeah.
A call within 2 days later. Oh, yes, your dad's picking up or your husband's picking up. Yeah. We're giving him intravenous antibiotics.
Right.
Then my sister texted me dad and said, is there anything you need? Dad had said, oh, can you bring us some clothes? My sister went down that day, had walked down to the hospital to drop clothes off.
Yeah.
While she was there, she said, would it be possible to see me dad?
Mm-hmm.
The nurse went away, came back. She says he doesn't want to see you. Obviously, a bit agitated, my sister at thinking that my dad didn't want to see her.
Mm.
She phoned me. She says, I can't believe I've walked down there and dad doesn't want to see it.
Right.
Within 24 hours, my dad had died.
Oh, my good grief.
So in actual fact, it wasn't a case of him not wanting
No, he wasn't in any
to
shape.
see her.
Right.
He wasn't in the shape to see her.
No.
Why
didn't they tell you the truth? Though, why didn't they tell the truth?
It's like, how can I explain it? COVID is being blamed for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst I understand, and I fully understand, that this is a deadly virus, more so for elderly.
And people with existing
and yes,
conditions.
I do think they need a bit of respect. And I do think they've earned the right to live. But the way me dad was treated was absolutely appalling.
It was disgusting.
And I'm sure my sister, my brother feels the same way, going to be left with the guilt.
Mm-hmm. All your life.
Going to see him.
And that'll never change. Now, the thing with that you see, to me...
That will never leave us.
No, I bet.
That being said, out of all the told we that they were treating him for COVID in Rake Lane.
Right.
Now, all tests that he had in both hospitals come back negative.
Right. I tell you, I was
taken in that night, led into my dad's side room.
Mm-hmm.
You could physically see he was dying, gasping for breath, and he was at the highest oxygen that you could get. I was given no PPE. I was given absolutely nothing. Now, if they were treating my dad, as the source said, when the doctor come rushing in and ushered us out and took us into a family room, if they were treating him for COVID, why was I allowed in? Not only that night, my brother stayed with him all night, throughout the night. The last time myself, my mum, and my sister got to talk to him was via video call to say good night, God bless, we love you, which he managed to mouth to me mum. He loved her, blew her a kiss. Done the same with my sister. He done the same with myself. Each test was shown as negative. Now, he was absolutely riddled, mainly in his lungs with cancer.
Yeah.
A few days later, obviously, we get the phone call to say that his death certificate is ready. And the main thing on that death certificate was COVID.
Oh.
Can anybody explain to me why?
Because
now looking just throwing an example out there. April the 19th. The cases were 5,030.
Yep.
The deaths were 494.
Yep.
Now today, 5,693 cases, the number of deaths 17.
Yep.
Can somebody tell me what's happened with the figures?
Why are we in lockdown for 17 deaths a day when naturally across the country it's going to be far more than that? But let me just quickly nip back. Why did they say he had COVID when he didn't? Because they get more money if they can link it and add it to, oh, he's died of pneumonia. Say it's COVID, we'll get more money. It's disgusting and it's a disgrace, and it's happened right away across the country. But the other thing that is, what did they genuinely think? Let's say that he had it, and he didn't, but let's say that he had it, and it might kill him. What did he have to lose? He'd already made the decision that he wasn't going to seek any medical help. He was going to have quality of life. Why wouldn't they let him have it? What reason did they have to stop him having quality of life? Because that's a damn disgrace.
It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. But I do believe that along the lines, there's too much media. People are scared.
There's too much BS, though. I mean, if the people told the truth about everything, we wouldn't be as frightened as we are.
The way my dad was treated from being diagnosed to his last letter that he received, to no phone calls off, no nurses, no nothing. I must add,
they cut him loose.
His doctor would call him and say, "Hi, how are you? Is everything okay?" Not one call from a nurse. Nothing, no follow-ups, no nothing. My dad was left
to die.
He died. He was left lonely, isolated. And when I seen him, and my sister seen him, you could see he was waiting to die. How dare anybody take somebody's quality of life?
They ruined the rest of his life. And however long or however short it was, they destroyed it on purpose. And this had nothing to do with COVID, obviously.
No. He had cancer. It started off where he had cancer in his throat. Now, he recovered from that, and unfortunately what they said was a bit must have came away either before treatment or during treatment. So you know yourself, when it breaks away, it just spreads to the rest of your body. No,
not acceptable.
My dad had come to terms with, but what he wanted was quality of life. And don't get us wrong, he wasn't what I would class as a lovey-dovey family man.
It doesn't matter, though. None of that matters. None of that matters. He had a certain amount of time left. Sorry to put in, but whatever he was, if he wanted to just sit and read library books till he went, it doesn't matter. He had the right. We fought for freedoms in this country that's being completely strangled. All of our freedoms are being taken away. Now, the freedom for a man who's dying to live out the last days of his life the way he wants them, and they were stolen from him, and that's just sinful.
Yes, there wasn't anything put in place. No, when you hear about beds being delivered to make people comfortable, there was none of that. No follow-ups, no nothing. Awful. Not a thing.
Awful. Vicky, but...
And it absolutely is shameful.
It is.
And yes, while it is a killer, and it is in older people, we should be allowed to take our precautions, not be held hostage, not be threatened with X amount of fines, etc., etc., as long as we are taking our precautions. The same as if I was to catch flu tomorrow, I wouldn't dream of going to see my mother to pass it on because my mum's older. She's got COPD.
Common sense.
I went and visited my mum yesterday to go and do our shopping.
Right. No, but why can't we show common sense? Why can't we just be trusted?
The relief on her face when she's seen it. She says, "You're the first person I've seen for 4 days."
There you go. Hey, Vicky, we must move on, but bless you. Thank you so much for calling. That's appalling. The whole thing is just wrong. Thank you for ringing in.
Thank you now.
Thanks, love. Bye-bye. Oh, my goodness. That makes you annoyed. Can you imagine that family? We just want to see them. We want to see him. We want to take him out. We want to sit him by the sea. Take him into the country. Get him a nice paint, anything he wanted. And yet, let's lock him away. Can't see you, can't communicate with you. Just got to sit there and rot. That's a downright disgrace. It's the Night Owls, Alan Robson with you on Britain's Most Listened To. We are Greatest Hits Northeast. And piece of music first. After briefly, why don't we hear something else? One of the questions that I tend to ask everybody, because you never know what kind of answer you're going to get, is about personal pains and problems. Nothing as heinous as that last one. I had a chat with the guys from Aha about that very thing. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Okay.
Yeah.
First one out, Morton.
Uh-huh.
I had a reaction to the pressure from the Fame train that hit me.
Yeah.
So in 1987, I believe it was. That is, this hit us in autumn '85.
Mm-hmm.
And it was relentless and never-ending and constant. And I was being nice to everybody everywhere. And I was starting to wonder where it would end. And all of a sudden, I start growing boils on my body. You know, real,
Oh, my goodness.
real infections that just out of a healthy system, apparently healthy. And I lost my sense of color. I couldn't really appreciate color. I didn't see black and white, but I didn't notice colors, and I didn't taste anything.
Yeah.
Nothing tasted anything to me. I could distinguish between salt and sweet, but I became just flatliner in a way. And I felt like I was about 190 years old.
Right.
And that was kind of scary. But
How did you sort that out?
I can't match that, but I can throw typhoid fever, borreliosis, and broken bones all over my body into the mix just to kind of up the ante.
as a result of Fame.
No, just as a result of living. Yeah. I think probably.
No, I think it is an interesting response to what happened. And we're not going to dwell on it any further, but it's a psychological reaction that becomes very much a physical one.
Alan Robson's Night Owls.
The phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Interesting. We've got an amazing little line of chat going on at the side of my screen. You're probably getting it on your various devices. And I got an email on the other side that says, isn't it interesting how they get rid of all of the hard-hitting radio talk shows across Britain, and then the government can say what it likes, and we just have to do what they say without questioning anything. Interesting, because that is what happened. They all went, and they've all been replaced pretty much by music and nothing to do with talk. Fascinating, isn't it? Also, a couple of things we've got to dive into. First of all, you will remember I did a Cities of Sound about Newcastle and Sunderland a few weeks ago. If you want to hear that, it's on the Greatest Hits Radio app, and there's a whole box set of them. Birmingham, Liverpool, Glasgow, ours at Newcastle and Sunderland, Sheffield, Manchester, South Wales. If you want to catch any of them, they're on the Greatest Hits app. This coming week, it's going to be West Yorkshire. Ricky Wilson from the Kaiser Chiefs is going to be taking us through Leeds, all the iconic venues, and probably places a lot of us here in the glory that is the North have been down to Leeds to visit in our time partying hearty when we were allowed to do it, because we can't do it now. Sorry, sir. Ugh, drives you mad. Anyway, 4 clues. Here we go. 4 words you're going to end up with. 4 words from a song that you all know. Clue number 1 is this. A silent movie star and romantic hero. His name was Rudolph Watt. Okay? Might have to ask your mum or your nana about this. Silent movie star and romantic hero. His name was Rudolph Watt. Okay? Rudolph Watt. Quite often in the old pictures you see him dressed in Arabian clothes, striding through the desert to caress a woman and make her fall in love with him. So what was his name, though? A very early silent movie star. Rudolph who? That surname is the word in this song. And you've got 3 more words to get. Then you've got to guess the tune. Now, last week, I spoke to Jill in Wallsend, and she's back on. Hi, Jill.
Hello.
Hello, darling. Good to talk to you again. Thanks for waiting. Sorry for the adverts and stuff. You know what we got to do.
I sympathise with that last lady, mate.
Oh, good, Grace. Can you imagine?
Oh, my God.
What a thing to... And the worst thing about it, and yeah, awful for him, 100%. It was worse for him than anyone else. But to be a family member, seeing this happen and being completely unable to do a damn thing about it would be torture. Absolute torture.
Yes, I mean, I was sadly in similar shoes 2 months ago when my mum sadly passed away.
Not able to see her?
But, no, not with COVID. But, you can't go and see them in hospital.
No.
And we had a short video, me and my sister, which was, good. And then 2 days later, I got a phone call from the hospital to say if sadly, she'd passed away.
The video was probably best of a bad job, really.
Oh.
But what you would have given for a cuddle?
I know.
What price would you put on that?
Oh, well, another conversation. I put,
awful.
all the money in China.
Yeah.
But that's by the by.
Well, but you see, it shouldn't be. Honestly, it shouldn't be. We've stopped being human beings by hearing people pretending to be doing this for humanity. We're doing this to save you. It's for your good. They're telling us it was for your good to go and give me a mum a cuddle.
I know, but we couldn't. We just couldn't.
But you could. Honestly, you could. What difference would it have made to her or you? Whether she had COVID or you had COVID, you were prepared to give her a cuddle. Full stop. I'm sorry, but to me, common sense has to cut through this crap at some point. At some point, we have to say, whoa, we're a free country, we're supposed to be. How come we're not free to do anything at the moment? And the government will say, well, it's for your own good. What happened to that last caller wasn't for their good. This wasn't for your good. I don't think it's for my good sitting on me jacksie in the house 24/7 or for anybody else. That's not good. It's not living.
No.
Call me
No,
old-fashioned, but living is going out, doing, seeing, talking, running, plodging, whatever eating an ice cream on the coast. And if you haven't got any of those things, do you really want to be locked in a cage?
I know. I mean, the worst. Well, I'm saying the best or the worst. I was a carer for my mum.
Right.
And I saw her 24/7.
Right. And then all of a sudden, at the time that she would feel you needed it most, you're not there.
I wasn't there.
Dear. Awful. Anyway, let's take a deep breath, because blaming that last call just screwed my head, I have to say. The ghosty thing that you sent in last week, we've received it, obviously. We got it last week, but we didn't have time to turn it around and enhance little bits and hopefully make it sound very groovy for the people. So if you'll just bear with me, the clip lasts 1 minute 18 seconds. I'll talk to you then. I'm just going to play it now, but stay where you are, darling. Here we go. This is the clip that Jill's husband was kind enough to send in last week.
With souls of man and woman, we hear their whispering word. We feel their gentle, airy touch. The breeze they leave behind. We hear the cries of their uncertainties as they gather with their kind. Protect us now as we guide them to heaven or fiery rocks. Let them swim in your glory through solstice to equinox. Open your eyes.
And a whole batch of music comes on while people were doing that. Jill, how about that?
That's scary, isn't it?
There's somebody talking. I was whispering in the background, and that's brilliant.
I tell you, it's brilliant.
It's great that we caught something. That's the thing. How about that? That's great.
To be honest, I wasn't sure if it was just actually on my own tape.
Right.
But that has happened before, believe it or not.
What, you picked something up? Well, you see, whatever you think a ghost might be, not everybody agrees that they exist, but for those that do, and I truly believe that it's all on waves and electrical waves of one sort or another, and that's how messages are cast. Even telephone messages are texts or tweets, and it's all flying through the atmosphere. But to get something there because for those that don't know, that was from one of our shows at Beamish, and I was there doing that. This was not a time when I had producers running around with me. It was long before I ever had a producer on the show. I was
and you
there.
wouldn't have heard that yourself.
And didn't hear it, because when you're there, you hear what's in your headphones. You don't necessarily hear what's happening around you. Once I got the willies when I was walking through like a haunted castle, and I could hear footsteps, and it was my feet. But I had my headphones on, so you could clunk, clunk. You're looking around thinking, what the hell's that? And it was actually me. But the Beamish thing, and I know later on in that show, a fellow presenter, Wayne, leapt out of a cupboard and nearly made me pat myself. But I didn't know that he was there. He was in that cupboard on the other side of the building when that was happening. And Beamish at the time was being completely refurbished and was totally empty. It was full of rubble. It was just a completely empty place. So the fact that cropped up is just tremendous. It did. I felt the goose pimples and the goosebumps coming up.
I tell you what, I mean, I had to listen to it a few times before I got all the,
But it's like something
like-
shadowing what I was saying. It seemed
I know,
to be that.
And I tell you what, it was like, and I had to go on. Me and my daughter went on the computer because you could get the back shows in those days. I don't know if you still can.
Yeah.
Previous shows. So because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just on my.
Oh, just yours, right? Get you.
And it was actually on the show. So I thought. I mean, but having said that, and it showed exactly what time it was. It was 3:00 in the morning.
Right. Which, because we never mentioned it to the radio station that we were still going to be on then. We didn't expect to be on then. It was my fault, really. I just kept going. I didn't look at the clock. Then I looked at the clock. You would have been there till 4:00. I looked at the clock and it was about 3:20, and I'm thinking, hang on a second. I think we might have to wrap this up sometime soon. But again, the following morning I came in and there was lots of messages saying how much people had enjoyed the show. Fortunately, nobody said, do you know what time he finished last night? Nobody said that. So as long as we didn't have that conversation, that's a good thing. Right. Anything else then, Jill? But thank you so much for sending that in. Really appreciate it.
Right. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm just pleased you've heard it.
Yeah. Oh, because I wasn't able to make it out last week when he played it down the line. It was just
I know.
a bit fuzzy.
I know. It is crummy when it's coming down, over the phone and everything. But at least you've managed to get it on the email.
Yeah. Well, we promised you that we'd turn it around, and thanks to Toy, he turned it. So thank you, Jill. Thanks to your hubby as well. Appreciate his effort.
Oh, bless him.
Thanks
again.
again.
Take care
And you.
Oh, love you to bits.
Bless you. Thanks, darling. Thanks for being there for us. 0191 488 3188. Used to be on here every night and don't half miss it. 0191 488 3188. Let's crack on and talk about other things. What time's my next tune? I've got absolutely no idea at all. I'm guessing it's about 20 past. But let's talk to somebody else first. Now, this is Kieran in Hotel Spring, who I think's got a problem with his bottom. Hi, Kieran.
Hiya, how's things? You all right?
Good, mate. I gather have you got that cycle seat out of your buttocks yet?
I haven't yet, no, to be honest with you. It's been cut there for the past 2 weeks, I think.
So explain to everybody what you've been up to.
So basically, I'm not really a cyclist, but I got coaxed into cycling. It was actually 182 miles. So it's
right.
Close to Castles, which you do over a couple of days.
Right.
And it's essentially from you're supposed to start at Newcastle at Tynemouth,
right,
and head up to Edinburgh. Now, we didn't really have a van to sort of to back us up or support.
Like a support vehicle, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have one, so we decided just to set off from one of the lads' houses, which is Leeds, and he lives at Hortonley Spring. So
Hellsbell, that's even further.
We essentially did Hortonley Spring to Edinburgh. So yeah, it was good.
Did you get the train back?
Yes.
Thank heavens for that. I was thinking, well, now we're here. Now what do we do?
Yeah, no, we got the train back. We had a fantastic support vehicle on the second and third day.
Right, good.
Fred did that and took all of our bikes back for us because we couldn't fit them all on the train with the pandemic going on and all that.
Sure, I understand.
They were a bit of a nightmare, to be honest with you. But no, we did it. I raised £425 on Macmillan.
Fantastic.
And yeah, we did that. The sort of the backstory to it is that sadly one of my best friends through life, and I've been since we were very, very small. His dad sadly got diagnosed with cancer a couple of months ago.
I'm so sorry.
And yeah, so when this bike ride came up, my best friend of many years, he says, look, you haven't got a bike capable of it. You haven't got any bike at all, to be honest with you. I'll borrow you a bike. So he's a professional cyclist. So he borrowed us a very, very nice bike, which made a lot of the other lads very envious.
Right.
And yeah, like I say, we did it. But I did it in aid of Macmillan Because like
charity.
His dad was obviously diagnosed with cancer. Sadly, his dad's passed now, which is a really big shame because Mick was obviously he was in a big part of my life growing up.
Sure.
Obviously, a big part of the two boys' life, my two best mates. So yeah, like I say, we raised £400 for him anyway. So it was good.
It was worth doing. Hey, was it not fun? I mean, once you got past the cramp and the sore backside.
It was, to be honest with you, some lovely views. See when you come across Berwick and places like that, it's lovely, to be honest with you. More the downhill sections are lovely. The uphill sections are a nightmare, I must admit. But some of the downhill sections, I'll be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoyed. I really did. I injured myself sort of on the second day, which sadly put us out for around about 10 miles. But I don't know, it was something strange and something weird inside of us that just went, I just need to do it, I just need to get back on the bike. So
good, man.
When we had the support vehicle, I laid up for sort of 5 to 8 miles and then jumped out the support vehicle. I was like, right, I'll have a bit of a test and see if I can get back on it. And I did, to be fair, I completed it. So
good lad.
Yeah, it was a tough one, don't get me wrong, but it was one that was, I think, like I say, raised 425.
It raised a lot of money, got you out of the house, got you moving, got you seeing stuff. That's living, man. That's living. When everybody else is staring at bloody Judge Judy for 24/7, that's all right, man. I'll tell you.
That's it. So we did the first day. We set off at 6:30 in the morning, and headed up to Amble. Obviously stopped at Tynemouth and Blythe and places like that. We had a couple of breakdowns in Blythe. I must admit there was a certain cycle shop in Blythe that helped us out tremendously, along with obviously the guys that were backing me up, which was Cycleways in Newton Aycliffe, who serviced my bike for me. Give us all the energy gels and all that sort of stuff that I would need. Because ironically enough, I'd took the bike in to get it serviced and stuff like that, because obviously it's been kindly donated. So I thought I'll go in and get it serviced and all that. So took it in, got it serviced, and next door was a Chinese takeaway. So I got the bike serviced, and then I went next door and just grabbed the Chinese.
You're only human. Come on.
And then I was sat there and I was midway through and I was like, oh, it's 2 days until I do this bike ride. Should I be eating a Chinese or should I be eating?
You'll burn it off. Don't worry about it.
So like I said, when I went in, and he knows as he's a local guy to me, and I went in and he says, are you taking up cycling? Are you going to do a couple of miles? I says, the weekend I'm going to do about 180, and you could see Colin's face. He kind of just held his breath and went, and he started to burst out laughing. To be fair to him, he kept it, and he looked at us and went, right, I'll do my best for you, basically. And he did. I did it. So, yeah.
I know. Respect to you and the guys. Well done. Tremendous thing to do. Thanks for doing what you did, Kieran. All the best, man. Thanks for coming on.
No worries. All the best.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. Lovely thing. Now, one thing that we're missing this year in jolly old Great Britain is festivals. No festivals this year. And they do these things, we're going to do it on TV. It's not the same. You got to be there. You got to slide in the mud. You got to buy the incense. You got to live in a tent. You got to have all your belongings stolen. You got to go into a toilet that can give you the Black Death. Forget about COVID. That's what festivals are about. I was talking to Andy Bell about the very thing. I've never seen you working live where you didn't look completely into what you're doing. You're completely swamped by it.
Yeah, that's why I kind of get, sometimes I think, well, there's all these festivals and stuff, like the V Festival, Glastonbury, and all these people. And then we're never, ever invited to go and play these things, because there's kind of like some kind of a hierarchy or some kind of snobbery to these things, even though they're supposed to be like really credible and, all these like, I don't know, groundbreaking bands. And I think, well, hello, we give entertainment value.
Yeah, well, I mean, the festivals would eat you up. To see that many people singing everything you've ever done would be tremendous.
Yeah, it would be very nice.
Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, don't forget, we've got one clue already delivered. And can I just say a big thank you to everybody that's online? We got a whole host of people on YouTube and Facebook and various social media lanes. And we know that there are an awful lot of people listening to the radio at the same time, which is the reason I'm here. So thanks to each and every one of you. Keep it going. We've been talking about naked, but can you imagine anything worse than being naked on the metro?
Going up to Newcastle with my girlfriend, and there's a big group of lads, about 12 of them, obviously on a stag do, totally naked on the metro. Absolutely naked. Didn't expect it, like Saturday afternoon getting on the metro, wasn't what I expected to see, but yeah, 12 blokes absolutely naked on the metro.
What did people do then? I mean, were they laughing with it, or did they think, oh, hang on, this is a strange religious cult?
Well, strangely enough, people always sit on the metro and they don't really look at each other or talk to each other. They just sit there and like avoid eye contact with everybody else.
Yeah.
That day, everybody was talking.
Yeah, right.
Everybody was talking.
So we should all go naked on the metro.
Exactly. It's the way forward, Alan. Anyway, mate.
There you go. Forget social distance. Well, that might make you distance even further, perhaps. Anyway, let's crack on. Talking naked. Ross in Blythe. Hi, Ross.
Hi, Alan. Just to confirm, it wasn't me. It was me mate who was caught naked. Yeah.
Well, they always say that. They always say, I've got this friend who. Come on, Ross.
No, it was the summer of 2002, Tenerife, Playa de las Americas. So 14 of us were on a large holiday. Can you imagine? Aye. One of them goes missing. God knows what he was up to, but he emerged at about 5 a.m., dripping wet. Apparently he'd been through lots and lots of hotels on the way home, evading security guards, completely naked. So, can you imagine the scenes? So we're getting a bit worried, like, our friend's gone missing. Here he arrives, dripping wet. I've had a great night, running away from security, but...
Why was he wet?
Well, he'd been in the swimming pools.
Oh, he's been in all the swimming... Oh, that's right. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, he was an absolute nutter. Still is. But he was jumping in them and then running off. Random hotels all the way home. We were about 20 minutes away from what they call the Strip in Tenerife.
Yeah. Well, he did the Strip, didn't he?
Aye. Well, I don't know where he'd been in between, but let's just say it could have been, one of those dodgy places that are open all night. But, So he lost his clothes anyway. But, and another naked incident happened on the same holiday, shall we say,
right.
On the last day where the inspector comes to check the rooms. Shall we say there was some scenes of nakedness going on with sort of lasses and stuff. We got fined at the time. It was the last year, I think, of pesetas before changing euros.
All right. Yeah.
So between the 14 of us, we got, as much as I remember, 330,000 peseta fine, or the Guardia Civil would come. So it was like, oh, what do you want? You don't want to be locked up with them, do you?
No.
So we clubbed together and we paid the fine and got off on the plane. But I think that's a bit of a scam to do with lads. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Where they exploit people. But so anyway, but a few years later, it's the theme here in Spain in Medina. I was on a more respectable holiday in a hostel.
Right.
And I actually had a really bad cold one night, so I went to bed early. I was like, ooh, really, really ill.
Yeah.
In bed, and then all of a sudden, a rattle goes at the door. I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? Someone trying his key. The key worked. Opened the door. It was a Dutch guy. Opened my door. So I'm in bed, shall we say, obviously no clothes on. And he appears in my room. So my first reaction was to pick up my cup of tea, which I'd been trying to recover from my cold with, and threaten to throw it at him and shouted, Guardia Civil, Guardia Civil, which was the only language I hope he would realise. And he ran off. Obviously, he was scared. I don't know if it was the Guardia Civil or the sight of me naked. But
what did he say when he came through the door? Was it, yoo-hoo?
No, I don't know what happened was we told the reception. They were like, "Oh no, the keys don't work for other doors. No, they're all different." But they did, and they said, "Oh no, you must have been hallucinating." I was like, "No, it really happened."
Yeah, if you were going to hallucinate, it would have been a Dutch girl at the door, I think.
Yeah, exactly. A Dutch man called Franz or Hank was stood in my room.
Called Franz or Hank?
Well, whatever they call them over there. I don't know, rude or whatever. But and then I wasn't even including this little story about nakedness, but when you just mentioned festivals there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, a whole new can of worms opened up. Sorry, I just want to lighten the mood a bit after all the
That's good, eh? Crack on, Ross, go for it.
Well, I was at V Festival in Staffordshire.
Brilliant.
Many years ago, and let's just say many drinks had been had, etc., etc. And our mate emerges from his tent at about 2, 3 in the morning, completely naked, swinging a bin bag around his head, and then proceeded to let that bin bag fly off into the sea of tents. And we're like, what is going on? Apparently that was his toilet. So, I mean, it's not recommended, but...
No.
So that was going on there. But the other festivals, lasses just completely stripped off, urinating and stuff at the side.
It's not attractive, mate. I'm sorry, it's not attractive. But the other thing is, I heard that at V Festival, not recently, this was about 5 or 6 years ago, that somebody, as a prank... the toilets at one of the V festivals was like a long trench, but you had loads of like portaloos over the top of them. But there was like a trench at the bottom that they dug to presumably fill with poo. And somebody, for a laugh, thought they would jump in the poo and stick their hand up through the hole to frighten people when they were on the toilet. Which I think you've got to be a fairly committed pervert to swim through poo.
But I've got another one. It's a mate of mine. She's too shy to come on air, but she said, can she share her story about nakedness?
Oh, it's good.
She was at East Ord Caravan Park. She fell through the door of the motorhome, taking her tights off. It was medieval fancy dress at Chilternham Castle, which you'll probably know all about.
Absolutely.
And that she was lying in the gravel naked, and an old woman leaving the bingo hall came running over thinking she'd been discarded in the gravel. And then in brackets, she was drunk. So it just shows you. But what a carry on. I mean, I had my 40th birthday last Friday in Blythe, 1 minute after the local lockdown rules and restrictions kicked in. So can you imagine that? So couldn't technically meet any other household.
Yeah.
Or family, or whatever. So, I mean, you know what I mean? But, we've got a flatmate, but I got a bag of balloons off my mum and dad, and presents and cans and stuff. So here's me walking down the road with a big bin liner of balloons, bag of cans, ready to have a party back at the flat. But what a carry on.
What a shame.
But my dad said, right, you're coming in the garden, we're seeing you, he'll pay the fine. You know what I mean? He's getting treatment as well at the minute, but it was like, nah, we're not having this. So anyway, but crazy times. It
is, but once again, you know yourself that the day before you saw all these people.
Yeah.
So what difference would you having those same people around you for another day? What difference would that make in the great scheme of things?
I still wear the mask and stuff and be very careful, but it's like, well, at what point do you go, I'm not going to see my own family?
You see, I think ultimately at some point the people will decide. Kind of like what happened when the lockdown ended. Everybody kind of said, oh, stuff this, I'm going out anyway. So then the government goes, oh, we better do something. We're going to bring the lockdown down. And everybody goes, oh, really? So soon? And yet the people had already kind of made that move. I think it's going to probably have to happen again. I don't know whether the public in general will go for it, because the press, the news, the television are all singing the government's song. And that makes everybody think, I must be really out of step if I don't agree with what's going on here. I can't understand why we've given everything that's of value in this country, which is freedom, we seem to have given away.
This Christmas thing, though, fair enough. People are putting their trees up and stuff. It's like, what, September? But fair enough. If it puts you in a better mood and makes you happier, fair enough. But
why the hell?
I'm just thinking, ooh, electricity bills. No.
Well,
Just,
don't use your big light. Just have your little glittery ones.
But, I mean, we haven't even thought about Halloween yet. I mean, is there going to be a mask shortage or what? I mean, or to just paint on the current masks scary faces or what? Or I'm not sure what's going to happen there. How do you get the sweets from the leaving them 2 meters away from the garden path and you turn up? And,
I think it'll be, hello!
Right.
I've got the man with me. Here's a black bullet.
Right.
Chuck it.
But,
I don't know. Craziness.
But I just end on another positive note. How lovely was it today to see Les Ferdinand and Alan Shearer doing punditry together for the Newcastle game?
Yeah.
Beautiful scenes. If they were around now together, how much would they be worth? Incredible.
Well, absolutely. And Newcastle could still do with a few more reinforcements, no question about that.
One shot, one goal, 1 point. Mourinho in the huff, champion.
I think before the game we'd have taken that. That's fair dues. Fair dues.
But I can't think of any more naked stories.
That's all right. There'll be more to come. I've got no doubt.
A few. But cheers, Alan.
Thanks, Ross.
Better get off to bed.
No worries. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye. There you go. Ross telling you most of his life has been naked in one way or another, but good stuff nonetheless. We have Daniel, who is in Newcastle. Elton John sang a song about him. Hi, Daniel.
Hello there.
Good man. What you got for us today? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to go over a few the COVID rules and that. You know what I mean? It's,
okay.
The stupid some of the rules that they've made up.
What do you think stupid then?
Well, they're saying a 2 metre rule, but a person can sneeze up to 9 metres. They're saying about masks, and they're putting all that out there. But what about gloves? You know, what I mean? And then everyone that doesn't have to wear a mask, like with COPD, they're more susceptible. So people who can die from it easily don't have to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're fit and healthy, you've got to put your mask on. It's crazy stuff.
And also, if you go into a restaurant, everybody takes their masks off.
And you're all sat in a close confinement space. The government's just so corrupt, man. And they're not about giving people £10,000 fines.
Yeah.
For breaking the rules, but a paedophile will get a £400 fine for having indecent images. It's like, what kind of world are we living in? You know what I mean?
You make absolute sense as far as I can see. It's just, if there was consistency across the board, and again, this has been proven with the curfew. Now people are saying to the government, you want to think twice about this curfew, because everybody's leaving now at about 10 to 10, and everybody's outside. They're all queuing at the metro at the same time. They're all going to the same kebabs and restaurants and, the places for fast food and stuff, or they're ringing for takeaways and what have you, and they're all in it together. And the other thing is, if you're all in a pub for 3 hours and you're not wearing masks, and then you've got to go home early, surely if you're going to get it, you'll have got it by the time you leave the bar.
Well, that's it. They're talking about wearing a mask, but I mean, how many people... Like I've done it myself. I've had the same mask for about 4 or 5 weeks. And if that virus is on the mask, I'm putting it back on my face.
Yeah,
So,
time again.
So how far do we go with the rules and regulations? I mean, they're talking about people's phones getting updated, and they're putting tracking systems on it to say if you've been. But if you pass someone in the car, you're going to be in close space then, so it's going to look like you've been in proximity of them.
And also, if whether it's a cafe or if it's a pub or if it's a shop that has an outbreak, and you happen to be in that shop 10 minutes before, you could still come up on the app. And they're also talking about giving you an inoculation that will have a natural tracker in it. They want everybody to download the Track and Trace app, and personally, I'm not doing any of these damn things. I don't. Why should we? We already do. I don't know whether you've ever been into. Well, you must have been into thousands of shops, but have you ever had a message on your phone saying, "How did you find the experience of of Asda? Was it good? Was it bad? Give us
I've
marks.
never had that myself, like, but I've had like targeted marketing where you'd be talking about something around your phone, and then the next minute it's bringing
There's an advert for it.
the topic that you were talking about, like on your phone.
Yeah.
I think it's the data protections went right out the window with some companies. Like,
I don't think that they care. They just want business. Or I don't understand why the government seem to have an obsession with knowing where we all are 24/7. Now, you could argue, well, fair dues, if you're not going to commit any criminal offence, does it matter that the government know I was at that shop at that time buying me bananas? Probably not. But it's just, surely we have a right to freedom, and we shouldn't, if we don't want that, we shouldn't have that.
We shouldn't be tracked like we're doing illegal things until you've committed the illegal offence. But everyone's just being tracked, traced. You can't go out your front door without, like, people's attitudes as well. Like, everyone's, like, it's a dividing rule between people, I've noticed. I went to college a few days ago, and the security, it's like as soon as these rules come out, and the police as well, they've had a massive stick up their arse. Just the way they come across and everything, it's appalling.
It's not good, and but what do we do about it then? I mean, how do we put things right?
I don't know, but I mean, the way the police have been going on, from what I've seen, like, the only problem we've got in society at the minute is the way the government and the police are going about doing things and enforcing it. I mean, they're going to have people are getting that pissed off. Like, there's probably going to be a rebellion soon. Like, there's going to have more riots on the streets.
Well, that'll give them an excuse to say, well, we've stopped it. So you're only allowed 6 people, and this is a meeting. We're going to clamp down. We're going to send the police in. We already know that the police and the internet and the national news seem to be now editing anything unpleasant that happens, because I think most people are aware that the police decked an old woman at one of the marches at the weekend, and then all of a sudden, all of the pictures of that disappeared from the internet.
Oh, it would. It's
why?
I feel that the media is all controlled, and as people know that it is, they only put out what they want you to see.
But why would they? Why it was there, and a lot of people obviously caught it on camera and what have you. They put it straight on the internet, pulled immediately, and yet on the you watch the national news saying, well, that's going to be a big story. Not a whisper. Not a whisper about it.
Recently, I think there was a bit of a protest in Newcastle where a 70-year-old woman was arrested and she was injured during the arrest.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the police, they're losing all, like, people that were saying, wouldn't say, like, oh, the police are rubbish. People are saying it more, like, often now, and people are getting so pissed off with the police, like, when they'll be hissed in the street soon, the police, and that, if 20 more thousand police officers going on the streets of the UK, the crime's just they're gonna make themselves a target because they haven't even got general, like, people skills. The way they talk to people is shocking. It's more or less what the Nazis were doing back in the day.
I don't think you can tar them all with the same brush, but they would benefit from honesty. And if the policeman hits somebody, whether it's by accident or whether they're being hassled by a lot of them and they lash out and some innocent person gets hit, I would rather the police said, "Oh, hey, I was in the middle of I didn't say the lassie and I hit her. I'm really sorry." I would rather that, because that's human. We do make mistakes. We do the wrong things on occasions. But if that was done to an older person on purpose, they should be prosecuted.
Definitely.
And I mean, most police would agree with that, I would hope.
I mean, when the BLM were in town and they were marching about, I mean, I was on the day, but I wasn't on the BLM side.
Yeah.
I feel like the police said a lot in the papers, and I found out that the police commissioner said that she was ashamed for the veterans. I'm a veteran myself, but the thing is, if they wanted to put the truth there, they should have released the video evidence on the CCTV from the street videos and not little clips, because it was actually the BLM who threw the smoke. So, I mean, and there was some people throwing glasses.
Right. The whole idea of it is that you've got to get the truth wherever you can find it, and that's the thing. Dropped an F in there, so we're going to have to move on from Daniel, but we thank him for his call. With respect to strong feelings about things, I absolutely get the idea of of you feeling angry about it. I would hope that we have more sense than to do anything like antagonize or target the police, because we still need the police. We need the police. We actually need them probably more now than ever, but we need them to be free to make fair and honest decisions and not be puppets for a government and not to follow anything other than what we've always needed the police for. We need them for domestic violence. We need them for burglaries. We need them for car accidents. We need them for so much. We can't genuinely live a safe and secure life without them. I would hate to think that that is being pared away in any shape or form. Anyway, let's crack on. 0191 488 3188. What are you going to talk about tonight? We want to hear you. Now, we're going to take a little piece of music, and this time I thought we would play just a jolly tune. A jolly tune, because we're not able to go on holiday pretty much anywhere. And why? You could argue, well, because of this COVID. Or you could say, because the government wants you to spend your money here because we've just had the COVID and they've got no cash. So, with respect to that, let us at least musically go to a beautiful place on a beautiful island called Jamaica.
0191 488 3188.
This is Night Owls.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Really interesting to see people's views, and I love the one from Rach, who says, things are changing, people are waking up. I follow it religiously and the government are about to implode. Well, it'll be interesting to see. And a lot of people talking about the Illuminati, giving them several names, but it's just, we live in interesting times, but anybody that has a different view to the government seems to be getting squashed, removed, sacked, moved on, ignored, or wiped from the internet. Why? This is not North Korea, so why is it happening? Why can't we put the truth on the internet if it's captured on camera? Why can't we do that? Television programs caught on camera, what they want us to see. Not everything, and everything would be kind of nice, wouldn't it? 0191 488 3188. It is time for the second clue for the competition. Now, I'm going to give you 4 words from a song, and from those 4 words, you've got to work out the name of a greatest hit, because it's Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. So, what the devil is the song? First clue, silent movie star and romantic hero. His name was Rudolph What? What was his surname? Rudolph What? Second clue, the main children's comic in the 60s, along with the Dandy, was called this. It featured Biffo the Bear and the Bash Street Kids. What was the name of the comic that they were in? There was the Dandy and this other one. What was the name of that comic? 2 clues down, 2 more clues to come. Then we'll see just how clever you are. Anthony's on the line talking about, well, he's a dedicated follower of fashion, it seems. Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on. What do you want to talk about then, Ant?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about fashion trends.
Yeah.
So I was going to ring up then, but my bottle went. So
That's all right.
But yeah, I'm a follower of the mod scene.
Oh, that's great.
So I just wanted to say about how certain youth cultures are still going on. I mean, I'm 50-year-old now.
Right.
So obviously I'm not an original mod, but I'm from the mod revival, called Feeney and that.
Oh, that's great. I mean, first of all, at the present I'm reading a book like the history of the Who, because they were mad crackers and crazy people. But they were the kings of the mod scene. Do you dress in a particular way, or?
Yeah, well, from on a daily basis, I wear the polo shirt, the Fred Perry polo shirts,
right?
Bowling shoes or loafers, and then before lockdown, going out to dances, it's the 2-tone suits, the inch-wide tiles, ties. I mean, I've got a Vespa as well with all the lights and the mirrors on. So
that's great.
The whole hog,
Yeah, you've gone down there. Do you listen to mod music as well? All of the cool old tunes.
Yeah, all the time. The Small Faces, the Who, the Kinks.
Oh, great.
Few of the modern, the revival ones like the Jam, Paul Weller.
Sure.
But no, it's more the 60s I prefer.
No, absolutely. But you got to remember that if you enjoyed Quadrophenia and all the stuff in that, they did stuff like Time is Tight, Booker T and the MGs, and High Heeled Sneakers, and all of those kind of blues rock and roll numbers. But they were real underground scene tracks. You listen to a lot of the early Manfred Mann.
Yeah, Manfred Mann, the Yardbirds.
Great. Oh, you're right in it. It's tremendous. So I presume you've got a parka with a RAF target on your back.
Well, I've got a parka, but it's got the Union Jack on with the senior across the back of it.
Brilliant.
And I've got the Who on the arm.
Great.
And stuff like that.
I love the Who started off as kind of mods, and then they became like kings of the mod. And when they got through the mod thing, they went into proper rock band stuff, like Won't Get Fooled Again and stuff. But it was all tremendous. So, no, then the Kinks, you can't go wrong with the Kinks, for heaven's sake.
good because it's timeless. I mean, you can still listen to like certain bands from the 60s, like the Small Faces and stuff like that, and it's ages. But I mean, I've listened to some stuff from the 90s, and it's just, you know, it's of its time, you know what I mean?
No, it is, but if you're quite right, because the Beatles are timeless. They're not mods, but they go across the generations really well. The Kinks, absolutely. The Who, tremendous. And a lot of those old songs that we don't hear as much as we should were just great. I can remember watching a film about mods, and they were playing that Booker T in the MG studio. Dum doodle doodle doo doodle doo doo. And you think, God, what a great piece of what a hook it had. And those kind of tunes will last forever, no question about it. Good stuff.
But I mean, as well, another thing I've noticed like lately, I'm thinking it could be a mod revival, because obviously you've got like sort of the Small Faces done a stage show, All or Nothing. And I mean, there's like sort of knitted polo shirts like in Marks and Spencer. You know, so I mean, all the clothing like sort of lines are all coming back. I mean, Fred Perry's still as massive as what it ever was.
Yeah. I saw a guy the other day wearing a two-tone suit. You know, the silver one that looks a bit green when the light hits it. So I'm wearing one of those suits. He had a polo neck shirt on and a big watch over the end of the sleeve of the polo neck shirt. And I was thinking, hey, look, he could have stepped out in 1967, you know, right there.
It might have been me.
Did you have lime green socks on and a pair of brothel creepers?
No, I'm only just wear the white socks.
The white socks, that's all right.
More traditional.
And have you noticed, though, that there's kind of symbiosis, if you look at ska music and how people who are into ska dressed, you know, the suits, tight shirts. I know the music's different, obviously, but they kind of pinched it for a while. They pinched that whole mod thing and turned it, but it's reggae and it's white reggae and it's this mixture of stuff, ska music. But I think it fits pretty well with the whole thing. If you were in a nightclub and they played a mod track and then a bit of ska, you'd stay up, wouldn't you? That's the thing.
Well, that's it. I mean, with us having like the scooter before the lockdown, we still had like scooter rallies, like so going to Driftfield and Kelso, and they have like sort of, there's not just mods, there's like sort of skinheads, rude boys, scars, scooterists. And it's you know, like you said, sort of they play like sort of Booker T and the MCs, then they play like sort of Prince Buster, then they play like Madness, and everybody just stays up for everything, you know. But,
why the hell not?
But it's class, man. I love it.
It is. Hey, well,
it's definitely what they say. It's definitely like a way of life, you know. It's not just.
But this is the thing. If you belong to a tribe and you love the music and you love the fashion, why not live it? Why the hell not?
Exactly, right.
Why not? Hey, good to hear from you, Anthony. Thanks for coming on, man.
Right, cheers, Alan.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. No, I love that. On the stream, a lot of people talking about the whole mod thing. Just Harry, fan of the Dead Kennedys. I seem to remember seeing them in concert singing a song called Too Drunk. Well, Too Drunk. We'll just leave it there. 0191 488 3188. Let's crack on. We have Anonymous, who is in Gateshead. Hello, Anonymous.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing there?
I'm very well, thank you so much for ringing. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Obviously, the hot topic is coronavirus.
Go for it. What's your view?
So, you see, what it is, right, with coronavirus, you know the home testing kit?
Yes.
So you go on the government website, for example, and you can't get a home testing kit.
Right.
You drive through one, can't get one.
Right.
So we go through a walkthrough, can't get one of these either. So you call a number, try to get a test, and you can't get one either.
Right.
So
why do you think you need one?
Well, that's the thing, right? Because, I mean, for example, right, let's just say somebody's child gets sent home.
Right.
And they can't go back to school because they need a negative test.
Right,
Which the schools shouldn't be saying that to the 119 number or the government website, because after 14 days, you can send your child or whoever back to school.
Right, yes.
So what I'm saying is, if you can't get a test, and you just surmise that you are positive at that time of the day,
Mm-hmm.
self-isolate for 14 days.
Right.
Because it's going to be the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
this is the thing, because what they're saying to you is, first of all, my question is, who the hell are they testing? Because everybody that I know who wants a test hasn't had one. Can't get one. It's can you come up to Edinburgh? No. Yeah, who in their right mind? You know, it's just. I'll tell you what. I'll take 3 days off work so I can come. No, no. If you can't get one here, why can't we get it? My question would also be, why do you want a test? Because presumably, if you say you want a test, then the government think, oh well, they're obviously at risk, so we'll have to keep an eye on them. Do you really want an eye on you?
well, saying that, this is bizarre because somebody put a postcode in up in Aberdeen,
Right.
and they got a postcode down Twickenham, and they booked a test. So what they've done was they got on a plane. I think it was from either Inverness or Aberdeen, and flew down to London. This was on Thursday, and stayed over a weekend in London, and flew back on the Monday. And the QR code that they had actually scanned and worked, so they got a test. Fine, but they were negative.
They were negative. But you see, next week they might be positive. My whole argument against the test is that if you get tested on Monday, you could still have it on Thursday.
Of course, yeah. But it's so bizarre as well because, I mean, I know, like, you've got local lockdowns now and you've got, like, this, that and the other. But, like I'm saying, is the 5-day incubation period. You have a home test kit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But past day 5 and 6, you can't have a home test kit.
Yeah.
But you can still go for a drive-through.
Yeah.
So, you know, either way, it's like, and I feel so sorry for the care homes.
Absolutely.
You know, you've got people in their palliative care. It's so horrible, like what's going on. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is not just one country like the United Kingdom. This is like the whole world.
Right, but it's not. You see, we have this image, and trust me on this. These things aren't happening all over the world. If you look at America, they're flogging tickets for their theme parks, and people are going into theme parks, and they're still doing their same thing. Macron, the president of France, end of August, when everybody was saying, but the figures are boo, and the figures have all gone up because everybody's gone to school, everybody's gone back to work. What a surprise! People now are being found positive, yet they're not ill because all of these people tend to be like 15 to 35. So most people don't even have symptoms. They're not ill. They're just cracking on. And Macron has said, the lockdown totally destroyed the French economy. The French people will not stand for another lockdown. So just take the precautions that you feel fit for you and your family. Don't take any chances, and we'll get through it. Now, why not? Why not, though? Why can't Britain do that?
You see, I mean, that's what I mean, Alan. If you look at Sweden, right, what they've done, like herd immunity and all this kind of crack I've watched in Russia today, the media, what's it called, CNN, other news channels.
Yes, CNN.
And I'm just looking at stuff like across different countries going, well, we're doing one thing, they're doing other things. I'm thinking, well, what's going on? Why are we doing something that doesn't make sense?
Yeah, you would think that countries would find a way to go forward. Now, the French economy's on the rise because everybody's back to work. All the kids are at school. The shops are busy. The restaurants are busy. The theatres are starting to open now with restricted numbers, but they're opening. Football events. People are going to say football and rugby and tennis. The Garon tennis Tony thing is happening at the present moment. So everything's cracking on there. And French people can travel anywhere in the world. But if they come to Britain, they've got to self-isolate for 14 days. So nobody's coming to Britain, but everybody's still going to all the countries in Europe.
Alan, that's the thing, though, right? So for example, what does Holland or Sweden or Germany do, I'm not right, that we didn't do? Did we do something wrong?
Well, it's not. You could argue whatever government happened to be in, whether we're Labour, Tories, Lib Dems, whatever, it would be a nightmare time to go through. I accept that. But how do you get your country back when it's gone through what it's gone through, which is, in my lifetime, the first time we've ever been completely put under the thumb? Poof. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't sleep with somebody, you can't go next door and see your neighbour, you can't go and see your mum who's dying. First time I've ever been in a situation where all of our freedoms have been stolen. First time ever, and I'm very uncomfortable about the whole thing. So how do you get out of that? Because they've got the power back, and the government want to keep that power. They want to, we can do and say what we like now, while the rest of the world said, oh, hang on, we got a lot of people in our country, they'll play hell if I'd try to do anything like that. Let them get back to normal as quick as they can. Then we economies can go up and life can get back to normal and people can keep their jobs. In Britain, they've already accepted most people are going to lose their jobs. That's just how it's going to be.
Personally, the way I see this, right, is because you got your 10 p.m. curfews on your pubs, right, for example, right?
Yeah.
So, hotels, I don't know how they work in any way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way I see this is like the government has got everybody by the harry-carry, basically. So it's like kind of, we've got our students, they're locked down. Go back home, that's fine. If you want to go back to university, you're going to be locked down for a good 14 days, basically.
Well, what they're saying also is that they might not be able to come home for Christmas.
I know that's what I'm saying. So it's a governmental control thing, this. So
but you see, we heard earlier that, yes, there's a lot of people that are being diagnosed as having it. We also heard 38 holidaymakers were sent letters saying that they had it and they haven't even had a test. So I don't know, are they psychic? I don't know. But bottom line is, of course the figures are going up because everybody's back to work, but only 17 people died. Last year, same day, 500 and odd people died of colds and flu and this and that and the other.
Alan, with these figures, I would take no notice of them whatsoever because our own stats from the government and then portrayed in the media, BBC News, Sky News, and to be quite honest, I take no notice of that whatsoever, right? What I look at is who's died around the local area, who's down the UK, but the only way you get to know that is because of the news. So again, the media is trying to control the minds of like you, me, and my partner, or whatever.
Yeah, all of us.
And it's so sad.
Back in the day, the media used to always have a pop. Whoever was in government, the media would have a pop at them. And all of a sudden, the media, since the beginning of the whole COVID thing, they've kind of played the government's game. And how far will we ever be able to trust newspapers and national news programs again? I have serious doubt if I ever will. Honestly, this has been ridiculous.
I never have done, but I'll tell you one thing. But before I pass on my partner, because obviously he wants to work with you.
Okay.
I've always said this kind of thing, right? If you look at the bigger picture out of the box, right? I know it's going to sound a little bit weird what I'm going to say, but if you look at this in the sense of could this be an extraterrestrial virus, as in, you know, we've got asteroids, we've got comets coming to this planet all the time, a little stone or whatever flies into the planet. Who's to say that that's not an extraterrestrial virus? It can be. It could be past Mars, take a couple of droplets up, whatever.
Who knows? Who knows? But there's a big secret somewhere, and we don't know what the big secret is. But we get to that. Yeah, but you see, once again, if you're in government, if you're a minister, if you're an MP, even if you're a councillor, your only duty is to tell your people who you represent the truth. Not a sugar-coated pill, not universal BS that's going around the world. Just tell us the truth, and then we'll understand. We'll love and support you for it. But if you keep lying to us, we will find out the truth eventually, and hell will descend upon you. And that's the reality of it.
This is why we've got civil wars. Well, not civil wars, but like people rioting in America and Portland and No, I'm surprised it hasn't kicked off in the UK. To be quite honest, me and you, Alan, I tell you honestly, it's one of these things where it'll come to one day, hopefully, I would not like to think.
No, but you see, this is the reason why the government have said, you can only meet 6 people. Just at the time when there's 300,000 gathering in Edinburgh and 150,000 gathering in London, you can only have 6. You can only have 6 friends with you. Sorry about. We're gonna have to cancel that march.
It's safe to go to the pub, you know, Alan. Perfectly safe to go to the pub, but I can't sit around my grandma's and have a cup of tea.
You can sit in the pub, but you can't see your nana. Or you can have a drink with 5 of your mates in a bar, but you can't see your dad, who's terminally ill and just wants his family around. It just doesn't add up, does it? And non-stick your partner on anyway. Let's have a word with him.
I'll pass you on there, Bob partner.
Lovely, thanks, man. Take care.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, partner. What you got to talk about tonight?
Well, the same situation as coronavirus.
Okay.
Right. My situation is what I think about the coronavirus is that I think it's fake.
Fake, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, like, I think this virus. I mean, I know in a way, the coronavirus has been around before.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Before the cause of the COVID-19.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm just saying, like, I think it's fake in a way. Like I don't think there's no virus going around killing people, but I just, like, how can people explain though on, like, there's been hundreds of thousands of people dying, but no one knows why.
Right, well, they're putting everybody that dies with anything. You know, if somebody gets knocked down by a truck, it's obviously COVID. He was poorly and he stepped down in front of that car. Everything seems to be being blamed on it, even things that can't possibly have been COVID. Like we heard the story before, elderly person with cancer. He dies, they put it down as COVID. Why?
Well, exactly. I mean, no one can explain in a way. I mean, there's sort of, it's got to be a conspiracy theory in a way. It's got to be.
Certainly that, right?
I mean, like, because in my opinion, obviously, like, I could be different from anybody else in the world, but I think the coronavirus is fake.
Right, okie doke. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate your time. Thanks for ringing in, the pair of you. Good on you. Thanks, he's gone. 0191 488 3188. He thinks it's fake. Do you? Now, you can't deny that people are losing their lives. And they do every year due to a whole range of different things. But having heard how it's affecting people who are terminally ill, who are choosing for quality of life, and they're not being given that quality of life. And that is shameful for any country to not have special circumstances that they can say, hey, let him see his family, or let her see her family. Why not? What difference would it make? The person at risk is the person who's dying. The rest of the family can be there to hug them, kiss them, maybe even through a mask if needs be, but let them be there for them. That's just basic humanity right there. We haven't been seeing very much of that. Right, we're going up to Perth in Scotland, where we've got Toby. Then we're going to have a piece of music. Then we might just get into the blah. Hello, Toby.
Hi there, Alan. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well. Thank you very much for calling. What's your view on everything then?
Well, it's more virus talk, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's fine. Go for it.
No, they were talking about this this afternoon on Times Radio. It's all about in these social distancing times, the fact you've got people quite willingly spending hours at a time on a plane, all masked up, and and huddled together as students, or just huddled out with your friends as you do.
Yeah, sure.
But as soon as it comes to going out to the theatre or going to a cinema, it's suddenly really risky. And I just find that really weird that distinction's made, don't you?
Well, it's a double standard, and right from the very beginning, it's Boris saying you don't need a mask, just get on with your life. Then the following day, but make sure you put your mask on. It doesn't make any sense. It is rubbish. You've got to go one way or the other. You cannot have it both ways. And when it comes down, you can go to the pub, but if 10 o'clock when the COVID comes out, you're going to be in trouble. It's ridiculous. If you're allowed to go to the pub, potentially you could be harmed. But surely the average person in the street, remembering that our fathers and grandfathers fought for our freedom, should we not be free enough to decide where we go, what we do, what we breathe even? And if we are prepared to take the risk, if you're within the age group, the massive age group from childhood right the way up to 70, you're relatively safe. If you're prepared to take that risk, why don't the government trust us enough to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. And it's the fact, your heart really goes out to people that, work in theatres, work in concert halls, work in the music industry.
Football stadia, for example, too.
But, I just wonder when it comes to things like, watching theatre productions, watching films, that in one sense people think it's really risky, but on the other hand, do you think people have become so comfortable watching films at home, got so comfortable with watching things that are being streamed live that they just think, oh, well, I can't actually be bothered going out to the cinema, going to a match, because, I can just sit at home and watch it from my sofa.
You also seem eminently sensible. So that is a tribute from me. But you sound as if you know the difference between watching a DVD or watching some movie on a TV or satellite channel. There's a huge difference between the new James Bond films coming out in November. I want to be in the cinema to see that sucker.
Absolutely, yeah.
And who wouldn't? And the other thing is, then they're thinking, if they can't go and see football, maybe you could go to the cinema and have social distancing, and at 3 or 4 screens at your local cinema all over the city, have the football on, and you can go there and you can chant and you can sing and you can have your little bubbles. And you think, what harm would that be? None that I can see. There's no difference from that than being in a bar on a Friday night. It's just, it hasn't been thought through. And because it hasn't been thought through, entire industries are going to the wall. And it should have been thought through. This is not something that, it hasn't just hit us in a week and everybody panics. How long has it been now? Coming on 7 months? That's enough time for you to think things through. And unless there's a reason behind it, do they want to stop people going out? We know it seems they want to stop people spending cash. Cash, it has the devil upon it. You pass that to someone, they die. That's rubbish. Otherwise, we'd never be able to buy a tin of beans from a shop. How many people have touched those beans before you? By the time it gets delivered by Asda, Lidl, Morrison's, so name any Asda, all the supermarkets, they're picked up on the shelves by somebody, put in a box and given to you. So if it's stuff being touched, it's being touched by other people before it gets to you. So why can't you just go and pick it up? A lot of this is just BS, and people are starting to tumble because of the inconsistency, because it's not... If it was worldwide and everybody on Earth was saying, we now know how it's spread, we don't. They're telling us, you can catch it any number of ways, but it's usually the mouth and it's this and it. And then other scientists are saying wearing a mask makes no difference because it can get in your eyes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what we wear goggles and a mask and a spaceman's helmet. How far we got to... but the world doesn't say that. Most of Europe just get on with it and say, we're going to treat it like every other virus we've ever had. We've already ruined our economy. Let's start building it up again. And Britain says, might be another lockdown.
Well, you say, you touch things in the shops, you touch things in the supermarket, you come into contact with people in the pub, and, if you're sensible enough, you take certain precautions.
Sure.
But,
if you want to wash your hands afterwards, if you want to take advantage of the doorway of every shop, do it.
But, at the same time, you've got, thousands of students, most of all in Manchester at the moment, under these lockdowns, living in these little bubbles in their flats, having just arrived at university, possibility of not going home for Christmas, and basically, in some respect, confined to their own rooms and only communicating by, writing messages on big cards and holding them up to the window. It seems extraordinary.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, I've got a friend, some of my family live in Manchester, and they were out on, what night was it? Friday night. No, beg your pardon. Thursday night last week, they went to a restaurant, an Indian restaurant, that's the biggest restaurant of a big chain of restaurants that's around. They got various ones around the country. And there were 100 tables in this restaurant, massive restaurant, 3 rooms. They were all completely full of people not wearing masks, having a meal. This is Manchester last Thursday. No masks. The staff had masks, but the public, no masks. Everybody having a nice meal. Then toilet, there was no issue. There was no question of counting how many people going in, how many people coming out. They just went to the loo. Now, that's Manchester. Now, you could argue, but that's the reason why COVID's gone up. It has gone up, but deaths haven't. And the people that have COVID apparently have very few or no symptoms. Now, my question would be, if a virus suddenly arrived that didn't hurt anybody, that people could get through without even knowing that they had it, and nobody died at the end of it, why do we stop doing anything? I don't understand. If we were dropping like flies and, carts were going around saying, bring out your dead, I'd say, might stay in the house this afternoon. But when it's not happening, but we've still got to do all those things, I just scratch my head and I don't know. I don't see the rationality of it. If it was rational, we'd do it automatically because we're sensible people, most of us. What do you think should happen then, Toby? Do you have any clue as what way you would like things to go?
I don't mean like everybody, and I just want normality as soon as possible. But
right.
I also accept that's not going to happen. But I mean, as you say, it's trusting people to be sensible and to take precautions that are going to.
Okay, here's the thing. Let me just test you for a second. Let's say, just for sake of argument, that the government was saying we're going to stop all the restrictions. We're going to there'll definitely not be a lockdown. Let's just stop it. And with respect to that, we tell each and every individual, just be careful, look after yourself, don't take any chances. You would probably take all of the precautions that you feel that you need more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, having experienced, a lockdown and the sheer frustration of being in it, and the threat of that happening again, as you say, you'd probably take the precautions and be as careful as you can whilst trying to get on with things normally.
But
that's quite right.
Do you really need to be told? People would say, look, there's still a risk of this nasty virus that's around. Be careful. Make sure you use the thing, keep the masks on. But we're not going to lock down. Just get on with your business. Try and keep distance from people that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so difficult? But
No,
if it is,
not in my mind, no.
What's I don't get it. Hey, but it's been lovely talking to you, Toby. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great to talk to you.
Thanks, man. Take care. Bye-bye. Ross, European countries like Spain, Italy, France and Portugal had much, much stricter lockdown measures back in April and May, with big fines, armed police shutting down pubs, tavernas and bars, more than pubs, in order to control the cases. That's why they're able to open up once it was controlled. In England, but you see, France at the present moment, the massive spike, the spike's much bigger than it was back in April. But again, nobody's dying of it. And they're saying, well, if nobody's dying, there's not an issue, let's crack on. And he says, in England, people have not done what they were asked, so cases have continued to rise. It's actually the same as what's happening in Europe. People have gone back to school, college, work, and the spike's gone up. And that's the same as in France. And if you look at the numbers in France, it's something like 15,000 a day being diagnosed. But they're not dying, they're not ill, and they haven't got a cough. And they're just saying, I've got it. That's nasty, I'll wear a mask. Because the people who have it should be wearing the masks, not the people who don't have it. Or is that a bit too radical? Who knows? The blah is about to burst upon you. For those of you watching and streaming and enjoying, hopefully, I hope you will retune and get the radio on for the last hour and a half. And in the meantime, I haven't read any of my emails thus far, so I have to dive in there. Mark is saying, scrolling down my Facebook, there was a post saying that the pound shop in Teesside are selling Ouija boards. I had to buy mine on eBay a few years ago, and it cost 40 quid for something that all priests tell you shouldn't mess with. Also, and we have Paul, who's saying, it's nearly that time again, Christmas. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas about to be played to death, or we hope not. Chris, I watched the Newcastle match this afternoon. Found myself questioning why the players took the knee BLM style. But there were no minutes silence for the slain police officer, Mattia Ratana. Where's the equality? Says Chris the Truck. A good point. Also, Hollywood McShane says, he sent a text in by Anthony in Durham. When are you going to do a ghost hunt? I'm just about to watch the world's scariest places with you at Chillingham and Dracula's Castle. Love all of them. Currently resting after having my 5th infusion on Friday, battling multiple sclerosis. Love the show. Keep up the good work. That's Liam in Shillbottle. And Anthony says, I hope you're keeping okay. Heartbroken about my dad. Anthony, my thoughts are with you. So sorry to have heard your news. Anne, I agree with you about the COVID rules. They're mad. It's all about money and letting those students pack all of their stuff, then quarantine them in a house with other people they don't know for 2 weeks. Why didn't they just let them stay at home? They should keep the pubs and restaurants closed unless they have outside or lots of space so people can distance. They'll only go out an hour earlier. My daughter downloaded the app and she had a high temperature, so they wouldn't let her in a shop. You can have a hot cup of tea and have a high temperature. It's not accurate. My granddaughter and daughter live in the same house. My granddaughter and one of her friends had it, yet my daughter's okay. We think she had it in February, had a non-stop cough. Looks like she's built up an immunity. That could be a possibility. Well, surely that's what we should be aiming for. Bloody immunity, that's what we want. And also, the Raging Reaver. We are releasing tomorrow at 12 noon, available everywhere for free, the Alan Robson Grizzly Tales podcast. And I'm describing some very strange ways that people have been killed in history. We're doing that. Then we go to Newgrange and Ireland and hear about a house that could be an original alien site. And after that, we hear the story of the Raging Reaver, a grisly tale from right here in the glory that is Northumberland. So if you want that, it's available for free tomorrow. The Alan Robson's Grizzly Tales podcast, available on all podcasty bits. Chris has also said, is lockdown all a conspiracy to cover up the uprising of the cows? 2 people were killed by rampaging cows this week alone. P.S. Somebody on the ITV local news has a dark sense of humour. A teacher was killed by cows, bless him, Dave Clark. And what reporter did ITV send to cover the story? Rachel Bullock. And he says, another thought, if people are dying of cancer and that's being labelled as coronavirus, does that mean that the Richmond teacher was killed by mad cow disease, says Chris the Truck? Who knows? It's a damn awful thing to happen to him, and we send our love and respects to the family. It's a damn shame. 0191 488 3188. The blah is coming up next. I'm going to hammer a tune in your direction first, though, and then we shall have a little piece of music, then we'll get into the blah. First of all, though, a song from Mark Cohen that just happens to be glorious.